Thank you so much, Cliff. We are now available to take questions. In addition to myself, Premier Eby, Minister Ralston, and Cliff, staff available to answer questions also include Brendan Ralphs, Director of Regional Operations with the Ministry of Emergency Management and Climate Readiness, Nicole Bonnet, Fire Information Officer for the McDougall Creek Wildfire, and Forrest Tower, Fire Information Officer for Lower East Adams Lake Wildfire.
A reminder to media on the line, please press *1 to enter the queue. You are limited to one question and one follow-up, and please come off mute and speakerphone so that we can hear you properly in the room. First question on the phone is from Richard Zusman, Global News.
Premier, this will be for you or for Minister Ma. How do you believe this order is going to work here? Will there be police going to hotels and checking if people are checking in? What are the logistics here in terms of people that are already in hotels and what they are supposed to do in this situation? And for Cliff, I'm just trying to get a sense. I know you went through the regions. The impact in the North Shuswap right now, there are reports people are still stranded in dangerous areas. What's being done to help them, and how concerned are you about that situation?
Thanks, Richard. This order is specifically to discourage people, to tell them don't do it, discourage people from traveling to the Okanagan to stay in hotels, motels, campsites. And the goal of it is to free up accommodation. If you're already in a hotel, the order does not affect you, but we're really encouraging people who are in hotels, who are in motels, to talk to the operator and to go home early. When you check out early, you're freeing up a hotel room for someone that is fleeing a wildfire. You're freeing up a hotel room for a firefighter that is battling forest fires in the area. Those rooms, as they come available, are being snapped up by emergency services personnel from the province of BC to make them available for evacuees and for first responders. So we need all the accommodation we can get. The order itself is meant to really communicate very clearly, this is not the time to be traveling to the Okanagan for tourism. This is not the time to be traveling for anything other than an essential purpose. And I think people understand that, but the order is really meant to underline it. And I'll turn it over to Cliff for your second part of your question.
Thank you very much, Richard. I just want to start by stressing, and I stressed this yesterday as well, the conditions that we are experiencing in BC right now. If you are placed on evacuation order, please leave. Please leave in an orderly manner. If you're put on evacuation alert, please be ready to leave at a moment's notice. And when that notice is given, please leave the area in the way that you're directed to by your local government. We have had some experiences in the last couple of days with people who have not adhered to evacuation orders. I'm pleading with those individuals and anyone else who may be put on evacuation order in the coming days. Please listen to your local or First Nation government's recommendations when they put an order in place. And when you're put on alert, please prepare your go bag and be ready to go. And please check on your neighbors when you're put on evacuation alert to ensure that they have the necessary things to get out as well. For specifics on the North Shuswap, which, as I stated, did see quite a bit of impact last night, from a structure perspective, I will throw to Forrest Tower, who is our communications officer with our incident management team on the Adams Lake complex.
Thanks, Cliff. Yeah, so currently our incident management team, the operations section and all other sections are working in very close coordination with other local response agencies and local governments. We're currently working on gaining access into areas that are under order that did have fire impact on the Squalax-Anglemont Road. So right now there are people that have remained in those communities. We again are stressing the critical importance of leaving when placed on an order. We do try and ensure that there is enough time for people to leave before there is fire impact. And after there is fire impact, it puts a lot of undue stress and work needed for our local response individuals to work with those individuals that choose to stay behind. So we are working to gain access and we'll make every effort, both for people that are in community, as well to get people back into their homes as soon as possible for those that did leave. It's a large scale response right now. And I do want to thank all the other support agencies. It was a very harrowing night for structural fire departments, search and rescue, all others that were on site. I hope this remains one of the most challenging nights and they don't have to go through this again. But we do have a number of days of more extreme fire behavior potential. So I just really encourage people in the Shuswap area to pay attention to those orders as they may come through as we go through this week.
Richard, do you have a follow-up?
I know the main priority now are fighting these fires, protecting infrastructure, protecting life, but we're also seeing obviously a huge amount of smoke in this area in Kelowna and across the province. Are there any concerns about health impacts for people in Metro Vancouver, Southern Vancouver Island, and so many other parts of BC due to this intense smoke that we are feeling? And what is the advice to the public dealing with that throughout British Columbia?
Heavy smoke in the atmosphere, in the air, can have severe health impacts, particularly on people who are vulnerable. If you are in an area that is experiencing heavy smoke, the advice is to stay indoors and avoid outdoor activity, avoid exercising outdoors. If you are able to set up a HEPA filter in your home to clean out the air, that is definitely advisable. Wear an N95 mask when you're walking outside. We'll also work with communities to set up clean air spaces. So for instance, community centers or libraries with good HVAC systems, we often work with communities to keep them open as cooling centers when it's very hot, as warming centers when it's very cold. We will also do that for smoke and poor air quality as well. We do need people to check in on one another, particularly those who are vulnerable in your lives. Make sure that they're doing okay. There can be significant health impacts as a result of heavy smoke. Do take care. It is a concern, absolutely, and we're seeing it not just here in British Columbia, but we've seen it all over the world where wildfire impacts have been heavy.
Our next question is from Keith Baldry, Global News.
Oh, hi there. In terms of people traveling up there, we've picked up some good anecdotal information, people that not just staying in hotels, but actually driving up, sort of wildfire tourism, going up to see the fires and parking and perhaps blocking roads and routes and such. Are there any reports or concerns about that, people actually traveling up there just to watch the fire activity?
We are asking everyone to stay clear of traveling to the central interior and southeast for non-essential reasons, including the Shuswap and Kelowna. And a non-essential reason absolutely includes firesighting. Or I don't know if that's actually a real term, but basically going up there to watch the fires. What we absolutely cannot have on our roads is people blocking roads to take photographs, getting out of their cars, visiting communities where there's high wildfire activity, getting in the way of crews. We can't see boats on waters that are being used by firefighting equipment to skim water to fight fires. We cannot see drones in the air where there's wildfire fighting equipment happening. Having drones in the air can ground our aircraft during absolutely critical moments of their firefighting cycles. This cannot happen. We need people to do the right thing and stay out of those areas and give fire crews the space that they need to fight those fires and respond to the hazards at hand. I don't know, Mr. Ralston, would you like to add, or Cliff, if you have anything else to say about your experiences there?
Thank you. This is certainly something that we have experienced, in particular in the last 48 hours with the impacts to such populated areas in West Kelowna, and now the Shuswap. And as you said, Minister Ma, it is with, I think with all the gravity I can put behind it, please do not come into areas that are affected by wildfire. We need that space. We need the airspace. We need the roadways. That is how our first responders get around. That is how we work to suppress the fires and how we work to try to protect people's homes.
A follow-up?
Yeah, two-pronged question. Is there a ballpark estimate how many people are actually ignoring evacuation orders, and what sanctions or penalties could they face if they do this under the emergency declaration of emergency? And also, different topic, are there any reports of wildlife being displaced and moving into urban areas, which maybe potentially be a danger to themselves and to residents there because of the huge fires displacing them?
I'll start off and probably offer it up to Cliff to tack on there, but I'll start with the second question, which is that we've actually already seen wildlife entering into urban areas, not only for wildfire, because of wildfire impacts, but also because of drought. We're seeing enormous, remember, we're still in a severe drought situation right across the province. A lot of food sources that are naturally available to wildlife are not there, and they're venturing deeper into urban areas in order to look for food. And absolutely, wildfires will also have that impact of moving wildlife around. In terms of once again, on ignoring evacuation orders, we cannot stress strongly enough how critical it is to follow evacuation orders when they are issued. We do not issue these orders lightly. They are a matter of life and death, not only for the people in those properties, but also for the first responders who will often go back to try to implore people to leave. The greatest consequence of ignoring an evacuation order is the loss of life. And it might not be the loss of life of the person who lives in the residence. It could be the loss of life of a first responder who is trying to help them and who is trying to help put out the fire and keep the community safe. Cliff, if you have anything else to add, welcome.
Thank you, Minister Ma, and I think you nailed it with the biggest consequence. I think I'll just restate what happened within the Shuswap, the Adams Lake Complex fire yesterday. With over a 20-kilometer run, BC Wildfire Service and all the supporting agencies that are working with BC Wildfire, we had to pull back on that fire because of fire behavior and because of the aggressive nature of the growth. We may not be able to come back if you're in an evacuation order. And so as much as we will attempt to when the conditions allow it, I just think it's important to stress that we may not be able to. Yesterday would have been one of those examples in parts of the Shuswap, parts of that Adams Lake complex. So again, I just stress, please, for everyone in BC, if you are placed on order, please leave your residence.
That concludes the availability.